James, but as it pertains to what's happening in culture and society, I do not agree with you, sir. And so it was like, dang, I can't listen. Where do I go? Um, and that was just one example, because there's some other men who were in my life, and their pushback was crazy. You know what I'm saying? So I was just in a place of hurt, to be called in a purveyor of ethnic Gnosticism by men that I have gone to see and ask for wisdom from was crazy to me. And so it's like, dang, y'all don't even see me as a human. Like, have a conversation with me. Like, man, okay, I hear you're in pain, brother. Like, what is it about this murder that has you thinking this way? It wasn't that. It was just, bah.
What I heard a lot of was this idea that, statistically, these don't happen that often. These situations don't happen that often. There's only a handful of them that happen a year. These are the stories that go viral.
Yeah.
And I would say that that may be true. However, as someone that's like unapologetically pro-life, and I am as pro-life as it gets.
As a
When it comes to third trimesters, abortion, when it comes to really late abortion, those are very statistically low anomalies. But when someone says, I'm cool with abortion up until birth, we look at them like they're crazy. Not because there's a million of them happening a year. There are.
Right.
But they happen.
Right.
So my paradigm goes, what is it about your framework that you're okay with a baby that's beyond viable being terminated very late in a pregnancy, even though that's an anomaly, right? And in the same way that I would go, okay, why do you? This is clearly an overuse of force,
right,
in this situation. Say it only happens 50 times a year. That's still 50 times a year. It's crazy. And say it was someone that was on drugs. Say it was someone that was in an encounter with law enforcement. They shouldn't have even been encountered with law enforcement. Let's just say all those things are true. That still shouldn't happen on a principle level. And that's the part where I felt like they were unjust scares in some of this. Having said that, and actually I remember seeing like a conversation with you and I think your name is Bobby, vote. I remember that, and I remember how different that you guys were talking to each other. It was like a Zoom call, you're talking to each other. And I was like, this is cool, right? And then all of a sudden, I don't know, it just seemed like the conversation stopped and the accusations revved up against you. But to be fair, was there ever a part where you felt like maybe you did kind of go a little too far to that? Meaning this, I do feel
We are traders. We take risks in the markets, but never without broking. For unmatched financial security, where your money is always yours, there's only one place. Exodus, born to trade.
Oh, I don't have enough money to start investing. Sounds like you? Well, the Nemo Money app is here to make investing simpler, smarter, and more enjoyable. With just $10, you too can start investing in global stocks in minutes. Here's how. Download the Nemo app and register with a few taps. Not sure which stocks to invest in? Head to the Discover tab to explore 8,000 plus global stocks at your fingertips. Still undecided? Check out professional analyst recommendations or let our AI assistant guide you towards smarter investment decisions. But before you place your trade, get valuable insights by exploring data, trends, and key stats on each stock's info card. Simply tap Buy, enter the amount you want to invest, starting from just $10. With Nemo Money's unlimited zero commission trading, every dollar you invest goes straight into your portfolio. Congratulations. You now own shares and have officially kickstarted your investment journey. Stay on top of your portfolio and watch your investments 24/7 with the Nemo Money app.
Being honest with where you stand, how you feel, it's really giving another person an opportunity to be as honest with you. And whatever your fear of that is, of that outcome, is never really as big as what tomorrow is not promised to anyone. But time will move on, you know, if you will move past it. And if your tomorrow never comes, at least you can know that you said what you needed to say.
Before we jump into this episode, I'd like to invite you to join this community to hear more interviews that will help you become happier, healthier, and more healed. All I want you to do is click on the subscribe button. I love your support. It's incredible to see all your comments, and we're just getting started. I can't wait to go on this journey with you. Thank you so much for subscribing. It means the world to me.
The number one health and wellness podcast.
Jay Shetty. Jay Shetty. The one, the only Jay Shetty.
Hey everyone, welcome back to On Purpose, the place you come to become happier, healthier, and more healed. I appreciate your ears, I appreciate your eyes. I'm so grateful that you're here right now, and I thank you for investing in yourself. You know that this platform is all about allowing the humans to be human, to give them a space to share their heart, share their mind, and share what's really happening behind the scenes. I think it's so easy in the climate we live in to get lost in clickbait and articles and views. And often that stops us from actually getting to understand someone and see someone for who they are. And today's guest is someone that I've been wanting on the show for years. So I'm extremely happy and extremely present, even more than ever, because this has been an opportunity I've been looking forward to. Today I'm talking to the one and only Michael B. Jordan, director, actor, producer, who's recognized as an industry leader invested in bringing social change to Hollywood through his art and philanthropy. Making his feature film directorial debut, Michael B. Jordan recently reprised the role of Adonis Creed in Creed 3. I'm a big Rocky fan, so when Creed dropped, you knew I had to see it. Which had the biggest opening weekend for a Creed film and biggest domestic opening for a sports movie ever. Of all time. I'm just going to clarify that. Up next, Michael B. Jordan is set to star in Ryan Coogler's next feature film for Warner Brothers. And Michael B. Jordan also was named one of Time's 100 most influential people of 2023. He's been recognized as People's 2020 Sexiest Man Alive. My team went on about this. And one of the New York Times 25 greatest actors of the 21st century. And now he's got a new health drink out. You know, I'm a big fan of health and wellness. It's called Moss, the first of its kind sea moss beverage available nationwide, as you're listening and watching today. Welcome to the show, Michael B. Jordan. Mike, it's great to have you here.
Thank you, appreciate it, man. That's great. Carrying you so proud with me everywhere I go and just these places. But no, I appreciate it. Thanks for having me.
Well, I wanted to add also in a few moments we spent together in this water here. You know, if I could add to that intro, you know, extremely humble, gracious, kind, thoughtful, like, it's also nice meeting that, and I love that this platform is a space that can come out. And we were just talking about that. You were saying that, you almost been looking for a space so you can share that, because you don't do a lot of press.
I know it's season for it. You know, obviously, when you have a project coming out or something, it's part of that news cycle. But for me personally, I try to kind of say to myself a little bit and very cautious of how you want people to get to know you. You know, when you have opportunities to speak and share things about yourself, and not kind of be a part of some kind of other people's agenda. So that's but the business has been yours for a long time, and the work that you've done and you are currently doing, and the club is a good time to get out and talk and share some things about me like this. It's been a journey, it's been a journey, so we'll check it out.
Yeah, I love that. Well, I appreciate the trust, and I love that checking point because it must be fascinating to look back at something and then think about where you were in life, what was going on in your mind. So I wanted to start with, there was this one thing you said in an interview, and we were talking about this earlier, you said you were a rich investor and you had to explain to it. And there was this great point you made that I think people would have recognized the amount of success you've had, the hits you've had, I think people want to know about you and learn about you. But you said, when you come from where I come from and everybody doesn't get their breaks that lot, you start to question, why am I successful in life? Why did I go this way and everybody went that way? And I just thought that was, again, extremely humble and also representative of where you grew up, how you came up, like, which way did everyone go, and where did that luck begin for you?
I think coming up in Northern Jersey, coming into that environment and, having, you're dealing with, you're living life, you're taking it a day at a time, you're going to basketball practice, you're going to school, you're going to church, for me, taking a lot of trips to New York City, going on auditions, like, environment like that, and hats off to my parents and to sacrifice so much to make sure the kids were safe and grew up in, grew up in that environment. It ain't easy making ends meet, grew up very poor, kids feel like it, you know what I'm saying? It was very, did a good job of hiding those things, you get older, you look back and say, oh man, we went through that, or that's why we slept in the kitchen that one time with the oven open, or that's when we stayed at grandma's house for like, a couple of weeks, and so you get that reflection of how we kind of grew up, and I think for me, always having a bigger purpose, I think, was, just that optimism, that I was picturing as a kid. And I think, it's not just to focus on just the work of it all, but I started working at such a young age. That's the thing that I kind of point to, booking auditions and getting this job, and traveling to this space, experiencing these things, and coming back home with these experiences and not having a lot of people who could relate or could, soundboard off of. And I think in feeling like that, you don't want to alienate those people, and I think, and this is all, I guess, in hindsight, you don't share these stories as much, maybe you should, because you don't want somebody to feel like inadequate or, not being able to have that experience that you might have had. And I think, that snowballs as you get older, and from stepping stone to stepping stone, as you continue to be successful at a young age, you start to question, why am I being so successful? And the people that look just like me, that are right next to me in everyday things, aren't necessarily doing that, or not choosing to, just didn't have those options that were laid out to them. And I think you start to doubt yourself for whatever reason, or feel guilty for the things that you may or may not have. Even though, my parents were people of service, block parties, or cooking church dinners, or never, my house was the house that everybody came to at some point, whether you were going to pizza that night, or dad was going to take everybody camping, or going to things like that. That was kind of my house within my neighborhood community. And so I think for me, being a person of service kind of just, just kind of comes from how I was raised, and those are examples that I need to know. I was so lucky too, as you become more successful and you see less people look like you that are being successful in this realm, and you end up being the one guy that looks like you that's successful, or the couple guys or the usual suspects that you see in the audition room, or things of that nature. You start to sometimes question why you. Now I feel as though it was my path, it was my purpose and spirituality and growing up, in the household.
My name is Jasmine Duffy, and I'm going to be and we also are responsible to complete the rest of the law. In stable houses, I don't know what you want to do regarding this, but the photographer from my camera work and all those things, so I can see about any other steps. So yeah, I'm working on the basically anything that I can afford.
There's like a happiness when you're looking back on that time. Like I can see it's a positive experience because of how you feel you've been loved and cared for and supported.
Come on to the back, please.
The resources may not have been there, or the access or opportunity.
No.
And I was wondering when I was listening to you, that is there a memory or an experience from your childhood that you think you find to the modern day? Like, was there a memory or a story that you have in your mind, that an experience you went through that you think brings out maybe that service element, brings out that purpose for you?
I think this bliss and this appreciation for how I grew up comes in hindsight. The first time you have a moment where you're like, pick the phone, in the morning, you just call your mom and be like, thank you, I get it. I'm sorry for being that kid at some point, and I'm so sorry for not understanding. I totally get what you guys are going through. Sheesh, I love you guys. Like you have those moments when you get older. That you just can't really have that perspective when you're a kid. I think, I was very mischievous, as well, and I think there were moments when my dad disciplined me, for whatever I did at that time. And then my mom went.
McDonald's Deal Droppers do amazing offers during the month of June. Download the McDonald's app today and redeem your favorite.
conversation around the why. And it being
Look at this guy, eh?
forced or
Que cara.
nudged
Could have least clean the face, man.
space where you have
You're
to
superstar, like, why it's like that? It's acting. It's ugly, man. Yeah.
And what that means.
It's kind of crazy.
Parents have
Go to the barber.
you know what I'm saying, from different family structures growing up.
There's a hairstyle on that too. Huh? Yeah.
And that just kind of kept the groundedness to me throughout. So I think it's the experiences of just family.
I like your point about hindsight. I definitely made that whole mind.
No, people with a lot of money, they don't care.
We're around the same age, so.
Huh?
People with a lot of money, they don't care.
Yeah, they don't care, man.
They wear anything they want to see.
Us with lesser money, yeah. When I strip the latest brands.
Understanding just how hard it was to do what she did. She was raising two kids. She was dropping us to school, picking us up. She was a breadwinner of the family. She made us breakfast, lunch, and dinner fresh every
But sometimes those clothes look cheap, but it's expensive actually.
Maybe it's because they are hard to
Yeah.
do it or that. It's hard work. You said that now you feel like you got the place that it's your car. What was that switch for you that went from like, I don't deserve this, God, like I feel out of place, I'm lucky, to being like, no, actually now I see it as this was meant to be my path. Because I think a lot of people, and a lot of our listeners will be there, that a lot of people are like, they make moves, and maybe they're the first person in their family to go to college, or maybe they're the first person starting a business, as an entrepreneur, or maybe one of our listeners is trying to break generational trauma, and they're the first person to destroy it. But then they all live in that space like, can I do this? Like, am I the one to do this? And so what was it that made that switch from like, I'm not sure I'm the guy, but oh, it is my part.
It's the sum of all things leading up into that point. I think it's all the doubt. It's the imposter syndrome. It's the blessings that you can't really accept fully. And you listen to other people speak who are successful, or you see examples that you kind of feel connected to. Like, man, that kind of feels like me. Or what he just said, or what she just said, I resonate with that. You know, I feel like that sometimes. You know, other people who are looking at you saying, "No, Mike, this is what you have. This is what you can be. This is what you are." Nah, I can't. No, no. Hey, you know, your own presence in a situation where you have to step back and look at yourself and be like, "Am I this guy right now?" Like, oh man, there's a room full of people who showed up for something I'm doing, and they're in service or in support of my idea, my thing. Okay, that looks and feels like I'm the guy. Okay, I'm in an industry where the success of your work and your art has been dictated and validated by other people's opinions, and whether those opinions are factual or projected on you from their own individual perspective. I think it was a combination of all those things, and I've always been curious and walked towards how do I make myself better? What are the things that I need, the tools that I need in order to improve myself, the way I think, how do I maximize myself, you know? So from, I think, being an executive coach, talk to executives all day and how to create healthy conversations, the right type of conversations to have as you're building a team around you. As you know, it's not just us. We have an entire team of people that surround us that help us achieve our dreams and get the big idea done. A spiritual advisor, a spiritual coach that I have who helps me do my energy work, my spiritual work, and help sift through the noise and find those things. And I think it wasn't until I had roles that challenged my spirit and myself in a real way that the weight and where the tension was so loud that it was deafening to me. And I couldn't see clearly. And These champagne problems. You know what I'm saying? That we're blessed. So, but the weight is so heavy, and people sometimes think when they see what we have or what we're doing, and it's like, oh, just be grateful, or just, what are you complaining about, and most people wouldn't be able to walk, a block in my shoes, with this stuff. And I think and then you have moments where you resent things and you're angry at, the feelings that you accumulate for not being clear or not understanding, why this. There's a lot of whys. You're not going to get all the answers, but you want to, be able to get to a place where you're clear. So to answer the question, when did I decide, when did I feel like that? Maybe 2 years ago, maybe a year ago. You look at where your family has come from and shit with your bloodline, you look at, the community, man, there's a cycle there from generation to generation that happens. When you get to yourself, you're like, man, can I stop this? Can I change this? I can do this. Once you know better, you gotta come do better. Once you see it, you can't unsee it. And I refuse to ignore it. I refuse to see it an opportunity that I had to change things and act like it didn't exist. And I think that was the thing for me that was like, nah, I gotta, if that's my purpose, if that's my path, is to just see it and I can see the pieces and if I can just continue to do this or if I stay down the pathway on that and I might be able to make a big difference in my nephew's life or my future children, my future grandchildren's life, I gotta do that. Because there's so many people that it wasn't the perfect storm for them to have that opportunity. It wasn't the right time in the world. Technology wasn't there. The resources, the right social conversations are being had for us to have these platforms and speak and be successful the way we are. You gotta do it. And I think that was a big part of it, understanding my own mortality, and understanding, life isn't a forever thing. And I think that happens when you get older too. You know what I'm saying? Like, you turn 37, and it's like, wow, I vividly remember, 15, I vividly remember 20, I vividly remember 25, 30, and I used to look at 35, 37 like ancient, you know what I'm saying? And I'm like, oh man, we're here. And it's like, you gotta do what you gotta do while you're here and it's impact. You gotta fulfill yourself, whatever that may be, And I think so that moment for me where it was like, okay, I can do this, maybe a couple of years ago, I think it was like, right as I was stepping into directing 3, and the weight of that, and being the captain of the ship the first time you got on the ship, I made movies before. I've done that. I know what that's like. I've never been a director, the captain of the ship. And I think that responsibility, that pressure, that, I'm not a dad, but everybody's looking to you for the answer, for the solve, for the leadership. And I think that really thrust me into
Hey there, Norman, how are you doing?
of leadership that I've never quite had the opportunity to do before.
I mean, there's so much in that.
Sorry, I said a lot.
That's great. I like it. I prefer it that way because I'm connecting all the dots as you're speaking, and there's so many things I want to unpack with that. One of the things that really resonated is this idea that you have to challenge yourself. You have to do something out of your comfort zone in order to even recognize that you could become, and you could be, and that you could develop. And often we're waiting to become before we take on the challenge, but it's the challenge that makes us become that person. And I think we resist, even what you said earlier about the opportunities, this idea that if you have opportunity, and there's an Eastern spiritual teaching which talks about if you have opportunities and you don't take them, that's a disservice to humanity because they're opening up to you even without your will sometimes, right? Like there's some of us that will sabotage ourselves because we'll say, oh, well, I didn't ask for that. I didn't know that was for me. And so I love the idea of anyone who's listening or watching what Mike's saying. I love the idea of leaning into that opportunity that is opening up to you. And even if you don't have the skills and you don't have the talent yet, or you don't have all of the tools and the abilities, it's going to force you to develop them.
For sure.
And you talking about coaching, I want to go back to that and ask you about that because you want to be better mentally, physically, spiritually. It's a big part of who you are. And even the projects you take on, which I want to dive into that, you said that challenge your spirit. Even the idea that you're looking at a role not as, oh, what's the next movie going to get me the thing? It's like, oh, that's going to challenge my spirit. I wanted to ask, what has been your best habit or tool uniquely that you've developed for your body, your mind, and your spirit individually? What have been things that you've done with your coaches in different areas that you think has brought about new epiphanies, opportunities, and ideas? What have been the tools and hacks that maybe people can look into as well?
I think there's this woman, Ramona Oliver, that I've known my entire life. You know, she's my spiritual advisor and coach. And, you know, I think starting the day, you know, in meditation, you know, taking a moment to clear yourself and prepare yourself for the day. It's so important to step out of your home with intent and intention. A lot of times it's when you project on a situation to help it manifest instead of negatively thinking about things that can help block your blessings. Now that's a big thing, you know. So I think, and we all have moments of negativity. That's part of it. You know, it's even maybe never fully get rid of that, but to practice those things in the morning, I think is a big help for me. You know, shoot movies and doing things and walking out. You know, there's just stories of people that just can't get a break sometimes, and for whatever reason, it's from stepping off the curb, twisting the ankle to, you know, parking ticket to the thing to the, oh, I just can't get a break. And there's some people that carry this cloud, you know, and I think some of that can be contributed to the thought process and the thinking and the energy that you're putting into these things. And it's something you just haven't done, but to stop and to reframe and to clear yourself and to, you know, I'm walking in this life today and see how much of a difference that can make. And more on the structural side, this guy Drew Kugler, who no, this is John Kugler, who was an executive coach and you know, as my ambitions grew from production company to brand marketing consulting companies to, you know, just the products and the businesses, you know, the conversations I need to have with the team, you know, and leadership and everybody's coming from different backgrounds and how do you speak everybody's love language? Because everybody, you have to speak differently a little bit to everybody so they can receive it the way you meant it, you know? And I think having a quality of conversations is something that is really meaningful conversations, and giving people the space to hear me and also hold them accountable to the things that I need to hold them accountable for. I think the combination of the two allowed me to look at situations and opportunities differently, for people to look at me differently. Because it's also a troubling thing when you're walking around as talent for a long time. That's how it's breathed. You know, and have an identity. That's what they're. So there's these kid gloves that come along with that. You know what I'm saying? That is, it's not everybody's fault. Everybody's in a role. You have to sometimes step back and look at the thing that we're in. You know, like we're in an industry, you know, that has generations and generations of taught behaviors and practices that any positive disruptor has to understand those things in order to disrupt them in a way. Absolutely. And evolve them, you know, and things are evolving. You see it, you know, that things are evolving in a way, and if you can look at it in a higher way, I think you can find your way through that.
Yeah, that resonates. You remind me of a beautiful statement from Mark Twain where he said that history never repeats itself, but it always rhymes. And I find that when you look at like industry, I was thinking about how if you don't study history, you have the rhyme happening in your life if you can't interrupt the pattern. So if you were a young star, which you were, I love The Wire as well as kind of the show, it's like, so you start in this industry early, and then you could spend years trying to figure out why you still have a kick that song.
Yes.
Because you haven't studied that, wait a minute, that's what happens, that unless you disrupt the pattern, present yourself differently, show more of yourself, people are always going to say, he's talented, he's an actor, that's what he does. As opposed to, oh, he's a director, oh, he's an entrepreneur, oh, he's an investor, right? I know you have lots of investments, all of them is the health and wellness space, right? Sports teams, which are on Mars as well, so it's interesting how much, if you don't study the history of our industry, we get locked in the identity of the role we played in that space.
Correct.
Forever.
Correct.
And it's so easy for us to get used to feeling, and often we do it to ourselves because it's comfortable playing the same role. And there's a familiar feeling of when I play this role, and I felt that in my own small way, like when I went from having to create content to get my message out there, even though I wanted to do TV or film or whatever, couldn't get a break, and so I went to content. And then I launched the podcast, and I told you about why we launched the podcast earlier. And then I wrote books, and it was like every time it was like, oh, we think Jay was this, and we were like, oh, he's actually, and I've had to go through that. I realized the hardest part is you letting go of that identity and revealing yourself and allowing yourself, right?
Yeah, no, definitely. I mean, have you ever, like, has the podcast been something you always wanted to do, or was it maybe just curious, or is it something that you have to you force yourself to reinvent yourself in a way? This isn't it for you.
Yeah,
You know what I'm saying? I know it's not. You know that this is a stop for you. This is a chapter in the book. Did you ever think I have to reinvent myself, or is that a product of the things that were telling you no, or the things that were challenging you?
Yeah, it's a great question. I think it's a mix of them all, but the thing that kind of like supersedes all of them, which I try and tap into, which I think you resonate with, because I think that's the conversation I mean, is having a connection with the intuition. Like for me, I'm not looking at like, what's the next trend, or like, how do I disrupt myself? Because to me, those things are still following other patterns.
Gotcha.
Whereas it's intuitively going like, what is the thing that I bring, or what do I want to do, or what is the missing piece of the puzzle that I believe I have a unique qualification to fill. Because if I'm always looking around, there will always be a million things. Like I always say to people, if you go to a real estate conference, you realize you don't invest enough in real estate. If you go to a cryptocurrency conference, you'll feel like, oh crap, I didn't do this. And if I sit with a group of actors, I'll be like, oh man, I should have studied that. You're always going to feel the deficiency of the trend that you studied.
Correct.
And so if you live that way around, it gets really complicated, because then you're like, well, do I do this or do I do that? Like, whereas when you go inward and it's like, oh, I feel alignment with this right now, because it lets me express myself, it lets me connect with people in a certain way. I feel I'm at the right evolution in my journey where it can manifest, as opposed to like, oh man, I just feel like the next big thing.
That makes so much sense, bro. And I think that's what it is, like your alignment with where you feel truthful.
Yeah.
And sometimes that always doesn't mean you're going to be financially okay. As well. I know, when you feel spiritually alive and everything, and mortgages due, rent is due, you know what I mean? So there's that element of it as well that you have to find your way through. Yeah, that intuition, that North Star is something that has led me all types of places that I wouldn't trade it for the world. Just that feeling of this feels right. And I know doesn't make sense. There's probably some other things on paper that seems like the better option or choice, but this feels right. And more often than not, it's been right.
Yeah, I love what you said earlier about how the thought process is such a powerful way of breaking out of the cloud of your head. And I think we all have moments where the cloud feels like it's never moving, it's constantly raining on you, and I think a lot of people are listening, they feel that way. Like, have you ever been in that place, and what has helped with your thought process? You've been tuning that. What's worked for you?
That's your moment. That's your moment. Not all is lost. When you're feeling the most trapped and down and nothing can go right, I feel like those are the moments that define me. Those are those character canon moments that are like, what am I going to do now? You know, how do you respond to that? And thinking your way, feeling your way, working your way through those things on the other side, it's like, you know, I don't know who said the same, but usually, you know, you're the closest to getting what you want. It's always the hardest. It's always the feeling when you're getting ready to, you know, people give up right before they get what they always wanted to get. People quit and they give up. And I will not be the person who quit before I got what I wanted or what I needed or what I thought I was supposed to have, you know? Like, and if that wasn't for me, it wasn't for me. I'm gonna keep grinding, I'm gonna keep knocking on the door until I get what I feel. That's been something I've always felt. Since having the name Michael Jordan and understanding that there's another guy out there named Michael Jordan that was the best ever to do something. And being teased and picked on about that and made me for a moment not wanting to play sports. But then it was like, nah, I'm actually going to make sure I'm going to compete. At least I'm going to compete. You can at least see me. I'm going to be somebody that it's not going to be, oh, his name is this. It's going to be, oh no, but he can play. Or, oh no, he can, oh, he has something about him, something that is formidable, that is, that is unique to him. And it gave me a help, you know, so and for the people who are listening who, you know, who do have, you know, that doesn't feel like they can change their circumstances or do anything, but they feel, just hold on, just endure, you know, look at things differently. Challenge yourself to look at things as a glass half full. Challenge yourself to think 4 steps ahead. Think your way through it. Like now we have so many tools, we have so much information. There's a lot of misinformation out there, but there's so much information to be curious. Find something that does resonate with you, even if it's not in the world that you ever thought you would be in. Find something that you align with. And because everybody aligns with something. And that's not an excuse I'm willing to take from anybody. You know? Align with something and find your positivity, find your intuition from that thing. And be obsessed about it.
What have you been obsessed with lately, man? What would you say is the thing you're most obsessed with right now, or that you have been for the past couple of years that is kind of just attractive?
I've been obsessed with getting my team right. I've been obsessed with getting the right personnel on the right brain frequency and getting everybody on the same page to accomplish these things that we need to go accomplish, because I truly believe it's going to be better for everyone. I think we're going to make an impact, you know? And so there's a obsessiveness that you got to have to over communicate, to follow up, to be redundant, to be consistent, you know, that you need, and I'm obsessed about it, you know? Strengthening my family, I'm obsessed over it, you know? To lead by example. You know, the great generation of trauma and curses. I'm obsessed with it. And I'm obsessed over every project that I lend myself to. So this next movie, The Main Line, you know, I'm literally, you know, blowing my stuff up, you know, getting married and stuff right now. I'm becoming obsessed with it, you know, and that character. It's an addictive feeling to have a thought and see it come to fruition. Create something you know, I did not come out either. And to be persistent and to see it to manifest, you know, manifestation, I love it, you know what I mean? It's cool. So that's something that I've been really locked in with, and I think it's also something that is gonna help people. You know, there's always I don't want anything that's not multi-hyped. I want anything that I'm involved in, it has to have layers to it. You know, how do you help? How do you educate? What's the lead behind? What blueprint am I leaving for the next generation? You know, I got a nephew now, you know, that is looking up at me constantly. Yes, because of height, but also because of the example. You know, and he's mimicking everything I do. He's mimicking anything. I can say something, do something, like a certain type of way. Crazy. So it clarifies your intention when you do things because you want it to have, purpose and intention, So those are the things, and I'm obsessed with being the best version of myself. And that's a big thing, and some days are better than others. Finding myself in a world where there's so many seen opinions about yourself, when everybody's telling you what you are, learning how to live, growing up in it, like, it's so wild. I've been doing this for 25 years straight, and that's a wild thing to think about. Man, more than half of my life has been my identity, just been doing the work that I've been doing. And growing up with social media, what didn't exist, now it does. At a point where I'm old enough to understand what that can do. So I'm obsessed with finding myself now, after and not having to prove anything to anybody other than myself. And my family, really myself. And realizing that is enough. You know what I'm saying? Like that, like giving your best is enough. And sometimes we lose track of that, and yeah. So for anybody out there, you're enough.
Absolutely. Let's toast to that.
Let's toast to that. Yeah. Shake it up. Yeah, man. And this is the pure. So we got 3 flavors right now. The mango ginger, the pomegranate. This is the check it out. Appreciate you, bro.
That's right.
Mm-hmm.
That's
Easy.
easy.
And anybody that's had CMOS in the past, they might not have a good experience, so they kind of try to clean it and process it themselves. Smooth.
Yeah.
Don't taste like the ocean, but it tastes a little, it's a little honey.
It's like, it's refreshing, it's smooth, and it's easy. That's how I feel about it.
Right.
It's like, yeah, like, this is like,
And it's a great mixture, you call them mocktails, but like if you want to do like mocktails, mocktails, or if you want to mix them like with drinks, like with spirits and stuff like that, it's really good. Yeah, man, this is 5 years of obsession. Obviously, health scares all over the place. People, not a lot of information on what's really going on, what can help, what cannot help. I was finishing up a movie in Berlin, and doing all the stunts, not sleeping a lot, in a foreign place. Food wasn't really my thing as much, and I was looking for something to kind of just help me get through my shoot days. And I was just chugging some more. Like, I don't even buy the jar, just to, I just gotta be doing good. I know it's doing good, just buy the jar, and then, on my flight home, I just gotta get better with.
yeah.
So I started making smoothies, started, doing, and my sister was pregnant with my nephew Dennis at the time. So, at that point, everybody was in their own bubble, and, they were kind of visit many people, so we would just blend up smoothies, drop them off at the front door, that was one little care package that I would do. I would do CMOS, and I would do like a homemade little pasta. And that was my act of service to my family, so that labor of love, that kind of, it started from a place of just trying to help my family, just like, stay healthy during things, and slowly evolved into something that I wanted to get, make it accessible to everyone.
Yeah, but people don't know the benefits of CMOS. What are some of the things in the properties?
It's like cognitive brain, it's like clarity, your immune system. So being able to harvest them in a way that gets those nutrients inside of this drink in a daily dose of moss is something that I was really, really excited about, just like making a beverage about it.
The aftertaste is great too.
There's no idea, it's there. It makes you want to drink more of it.
Yeah, 100%, yeah.
And yeah, it's good, man. It's good. And it's I'm proud.
Yeah. Congratulations. Thanks, man.
We know we gotta go to New York, man. What's up?
No, we have to do it. We'll have to do a Moscow now. It's really a must.
Yeah, I love it because Ashwanda, we got Ashwanda Lars as well, and Jensen. So, you got all that depth to do it. So that's good.
Yeah. No, it's been a labor of love for us too. It's like, me and my wife always talk about it as a holiday baby. It's like, here's what we were working on. Because we were the same. We've been addicted to tea our whole life. And we how do we make it easy for people to understand these herbs and these adaptogens and, you know, because a lot of people, we grew up with it, we were lucky in our culture, in Indian culture, we grew up with a lot of these herbs and spices in your daily food.
Exactly.
But a lot of people don't have access to it, so it's like, how do we make it easy, and when people know how to make it? So yeah, I'll send you something to try there.
Oh, please do, man. So, yeah, got me in there and everything. I love this, man.
I was loving what you were saying about the building of teams. Because, and something you said was like, how do you keep everyone on that same frequency and like attract those people? And I went through a big thing for that at a certain part of my work around 2 years ago. A lot of people that are in my sphere today, some of them have been around since the beginning, and some of them came on in the last 2 years. And it has been life-changing.
Yes.
Like absolutely life-changing from an energy standpoint, from a spirit standpoint, and from a productivity effectiveness standpoint. How have you been trained, or how do you sense, beyond like someone being able to do a job obviously, how have you been able to learn how to sense or understand whether someone's on that same brainwave, as you said, or brain energy where you are, and has that same value set that you have?
I think it's a lot of conversation and sometimes trial and error. I think my intuition and my gut is the first, litmus test, is the first kind of line of defense, that I have of like energy vibe. You know what I'm saying? Like, okay, that you feel on par. How you answer a question. What are the things that you're saying? Are you speaking from ego? Are you speaking about, what is the thing? We meet so many people. We have to use quick judgments. And who gets our time, who you look up to, who you not. And I think when it comes to building into a team, especially nowadays, you're coming into something that's well oiled.
Yeah.
You're coming into a machine already. So you have to fit, not just with me, but you have to kind of fit with everybody. You have to know how to communicate the things you know how to communicate to. You have to, the ego is something that can get in a lot of people's way when joining a team or joining something that's already really established. And I think coming to a place of learning and listening is really important, and not taking things personally. And then it's something to the people that's already been in the team to understand that there's going to be additions, and there is a process there's an onboarding, there's a thing that you have to bring people into the fold in a way to get the best out of it. So I think there's been those learning things along the way that's really helped me identify people who that fit and work well within the circle, I think that's been my kind of process thus far. And then I always want to create an environment where people want to be.
Yeah.
You're not here for a check.
Yeah.
You're here because you believe in what we're doing and what we want to do. And I'm pretty transparent about those things, So I think just being extremely transparent and forward with those things and know that there's another person if this isn't it, like I'm the best, I'm the guy that's always going to be the great recommendation. You know what I mean? Like I want people to win. At the end of the day, I want people to win. And seeing somebody in their strengths, and being like, okay, I can use this would be helpful in this way. And if that works out, it works out. If not, then I want to see you do well.
Yeah, I love that. Yeah, I remember years ago I was listening to Eric Schmidt, who is CEO of Google for a bit.
Yep.
And he was talking about how they were looking for smart creators, and I love that they had two words that kind of summed up what they look for. They look for people who are smart creators, and for me it became humble champions. I was like, I want humble winners. I want the people who want to win and have that ambition, but are able to put their ego aside, because then we're going to speed up getting there, because the thing that slows you down from winning is ego. Like, the thing that stops you from passing the ball is ego, or bowing out and saying it's your turn is ego. And so, but you still have to have that champion mindset, because it isn't just about, oh yeah, no, you do your thing, like. And that was a big thing. Then the other thing that worked for me was I was like, I need to work with people that I could go to breakfast, lunch, or dinner with if we don't work together.
Yes,
Do I actually want to go to breakfast, lunch, or dinner with this person? Because I probably will be when I'm traveling or on the road. That means I like spending time with them, which means I'm having to coach them.
Yes.
And I'm having to learn from them.
Exactly.
Whereas if I don't want to, and initially I was like that, I used to just hire people who were great at what they did. We didn't really have chemistry. Like we couldn't hang out. And that wasn't because they were wrong, it was also because I wasn't aware.
Got you.
And then of course, the mission, the purpose is, that's core and central.
Because you, I mean, you spend time with your family. With, you know, your team becomes your extended family. They are your family. You know, breakfast, lunch, and dinner. You know, like there's a part of you that, you know, it has to feel like I'm getting a little bit of my family here. And if it's not that, you know, it's really hard for me. You know, obviously, like, you know, you have a bigger company and there's employees and you're not going to be as personal with everybody within the company. You know, you have breakfast with everybody. But there's a feeling of, you know, I don't mind on a Sunday everybody at my house watching the game, spending time, because that's when not the 9 to 5 time to be creative or the 9 to 5 time to do the job. That's the extra mile. That's the I had this idea and I was just thinking, we're looking at something together and this would be great. Those the best ideas sometimes come from those just hangout moments. In those moments where you spend time with people that you work with. So yeah, I think you're right. That's really important.
Yeah, for sure. Before the obsession point that came up, which was I'm glad I asked you that. You went into it. You're talking about like, you know, you live in an industry and you talk about social media where people have opinions. People even an opinion is like people have a lens because they've seen you in a particular light. And I was wondering, like, what do you think something that people are right about you, and what's something that people sometimes get wrong about you? Like, what do you feel like when it comes to that? Like, I'll tell you mine. Like, I feel like for me, a lot of people think that I get like often because of what I teach and what I'm sharing and what I'm guiding. It's like, oh, Jay must get everything perfect all the time. And like, you know, it's like super deep and like always just saying profound things, and that's not true, obviously, because as much as that is who I am and that is my heart, I'm not always like that. Like I have bad days, I have bad moods, I have off days, I have days when I'm not feeling that way, right? And so that's something that people get wrong about me sometimes in that perception, because but I'm dedicated to this work. I'm obsessed with it. I'm obsessed with being better, but that doesn't remove me from having flaws and weaknesses. And so yeah.
You should do a blooper reel. You should do a blooper outtake reel of those moments. You have the team catch you in those little moments, and you should pull it out. That'll be fun.
That'll be fun.
That'll be fun.
Yeah, I like that.
That'll be fun. I think for me it's like, I think I've intentionally stayed out the way so much where I'm not giving anybody anything to go on other than what I want you to know. You know, I think that's been it for a long time. I've always had the approach of like not speaking on things and not giving them like, you know, there's going to be perspectives and there's things about you that just aren't true. Do you care to correct somebody or not? You know, because most of the time people's minds are made up no matter what you say. It is what it's going to be. You know, stay out the comment section. You know what I mean? You get some great entertainment in there, but then you can get a lot of stuff that's just people who want to project the thing that's going to get the most attention. And the issue that I have with a lot of that is they can be completely false. And we have an industry of, we talked earlier, knocking journalism, the skill of that will run with those things, knowing that there is no basis to it. But now that's a narrative that's attached to you that you have to be strong enough and strong-minded enough to ignore, knowing it's not true, or this human nature feeling of wanting to know that's not true. I want people to know this about me. And I've always walked on that line of, you know, not caring, trying not to care, and knowing that I'm enough, and knowing my truth, and the people who know me. You know, I am about my community, my people, you know, wholeheartedly. And a lot of the choices that I make and things that I want to do and be a part of is in service of that bigger picture, you know, of helping that, you know, my community in a big way. So I think the biggest thing sometimes is if they ever feel like that they're not my top priority is maybe one of the biggest misconceptions. You know, the love I have for my community, regardless of people's approach, I think everybody has a different strategy and approach to how they affect and make change. Everybody, it doesn't all look the same. And because it may not be typical or the average voice, because the package is different and the craft and my field is different. So I have a set of my lane that I maneuver without, in and out of. Like, I love playing chess. I love strategy. I love reverse engineering, building things. So I think that's one of the biggest things. And you know, sometimes ignorance and a laugh or a joke or a like or a thing, we've encouraged the behavior of negativity and things, and loud is the thing, and that's just not what I'm into.
Yeah.
I'm into the love things. I'm into the humanity, bringing people together the best way, and also human.
No, I appreciate that. I mean, I also think you put a false pressure on the definition of authenticity. You share everything with everyone. And I'm not sure I vibe with that definition, because I think authenticity by nature is you sharing what you feel comfortable with each person. That's what it means to be authentic. And you can argue that authentic just means being however you want to be in any given situation. So I think there has become a false pressure of, I'm going to show you authentic by showing every part of yourself. And I don't know if that triggers anything to you. Like, what's the definition of authenticity to you? Or to me, that's what it is.
I think it's but then in hindsight, there's a piece of it that not even to go back, but there's also like maybe that's my.
Alright, 163.
Hold on, 160.
Okay, I'll make it quick.
Miles away. Oh, yeah.
Celebrating 60 years of much, much more.
Insecurity framing what the loudness of the things that I'm most sensitive of. Is this noise somehow?
Yeah, it triggers us for a reason.
You know what I'm saying?
There's some stuff that you just go, oh yeah,
Whatever. But it's like,
there's some stuff that's like,
man, like, why does that bother me so much?
Yep.
Like, there's something about that because I know what that does in the biggest, like, I'm always thinking bigger picture. It's very rarely that I really focus on the thing. It's always about what's the cause of that in the bigger conversation, you know? The authenticity to me is being able to sleep at night, being able to go talk to my mom and knowing that the people that know me, every fiber of my being, my intention, knows my heart through and through, that they see the same person. They're able to connect the same energy, the same vibe, and the same spirit. My energy has never changed. You know, I think being authentic to that frequency is super important. No matter where I go, no matter how I evolve, and have to mature and grow up, I want my energy to always feel the same. That's why you meet certain people for years that go by and you pick right back up where you left off. Feels like no time is lost. The energy level is always the same. And I love when people I haven't seen in a long time or coming up, man, whoa, you know, it's the same. And that just lets me know that I'm not losing myself. I'm not losing track of, you know, who I am and where I come from. And I am always going to be an agent of change, Trojan horse or not, you know what I'm saying? And yeah, just continue to lead by example. You know, I know you know, rock at a time, gravel at a time, you know, eventually that hole's gonna be open, you know what I'm saying? Eventually it's gonna be open, but it's chipping away. And unfortunately, everybody can't be the loudest one in the room. You know, sometimes you gotta be quiet, you gotta listen and look, pay attention, and move, how you need to move. Chess pieces, they have different rules and different movements for a reason. You know, on the board in different places for a reason. And I know my place.
And I think that's what it comes down to, man. It's like, I appreciate you bringing out that point around how things that trigger us.
Hey, it's
This is a long time coming. We got the GOAT, we got the King of New York, and the man.
Shop like a billionaire. Install it now.
Hi, Ad, can you trade for me?
Absolutely. I use advanced technical indicators and algorithms to monitor the market and find the best deals for you. Try automated trading with Comedic now.
This is a long time coming. We got the GOAT, we got the King of New York, and the man who got everything on his Christmas list this year.
I'm happy to find you.
I'm here watching you. Alex told me that back in the day you guys ran him off his corner.
High school had a couple corners, and there was one day, two dudes from Jamaica on the corner. I was like, GGG. I was like, just go crazy.
Donald Trump calls it the weed, bro. No, we've been doing all right. Things been doing pretty good. 50 Cent pulled up to the show in Madison Square Garden. Things worked out after that.
No, that's fire.
It worked out.
It didn't need me either. It was so loud that worked. I was a surprise.
That's so long, bro.
Yeah, I'm in the right place. I know I'm in the right place, but I ain't had to do nothing. Everybody was here.
It was crazy because I had no clue what to expect. I didn't know you guys were gonna do like a show.
Yeah.
Like it's a real show.
I was born for look, there's certain guys that, look, you see how he came to Kim Hall? Our relationship is a little different. If he does a favor for me, I'm gonna return the favor, bro. Like, there's not gonna be a point that
Now, I will say, you did that even before I did anything, man. That's love.
You know, I'm looking at it going, nah, it's cool because I'm a fan of it. But I don't understand what got into you, just made you say you was still a fuck Kendrick.
Whoa. I said big sweet love.
I read the streets on it. No, it's not. You know what? I apologize, guys.
Yes. This is the game, right?
It's from years and years of trauma. This comes from abuse in the neighborhood that I grew up in. It comes from a lot of different things. And make sweet love. I heard fuck. When you said it, it was aggressive. I don't know why I heard it that way. And look, for people who write petitions behind it, it's crazy. It's crazy. That's crazy. I mean, look, what you saying. Look, I follow comedic culture. I watch comedians. I enjoy it on another level. You are a comedian.
Yeah.
What I appreciate about it is they are invincible. When I watch them, I look and I go, there's no point that you can do something that actually damages what they develop. What they build. Like, you know, like they go, like, in any case, like Cat Williams can fight a 15-year-old kid that is his height. And not do so well. But it does
does no damage to Cat Williams. He's still that guy.
Yeah.
I was watching Jamie Foxx new piece, right? Yeah. He mentioned Cat in it. And then to me, it meant that he had to be relevant enough. Oh, yeah. Jamie did. Yeah. It was like, and I didn't know what, like, I went to laugh. Like, when, if Andrew would do something, already my mind is prepared and conditioned to laugh. I'm waiting for a punchline. It's gonna come. And I'm usually never let down. Jamie's show, that shit put me on a roller coaster. Yeah. Last time I did, and he went to a place that I was like, oh, man, like it was like my eyes was almost emotional. Yeah. I'm like, what's going on here? Yeah. You were supposed to make me laugh. I'm not sure I'm prepared to be doing all this. That's tricking and stuff. I talk to that fool. I'm like, everyone in Atlanta feel like they saved his life. I said, yo, this is big. Like the shows. Doug told me he cried. Shout out to Jamie, by the way. When it comes back, Doug told me he cried. Jamie Foxx is now. Yeah, it was intense. Look, if you're the most talented human being, you know what? Watching that, it was a tribute to talent. You know, that. Like I saw him going, like when he do the voice piece, he does those things, and then he had it was almost a living color back when. And he went and he got into like the Django things, the shows. They show periods. They show pieces of the work that's been done all over his entire career. Yeah. And then, like, cause he was saying the cone piece, like the cone. That's how that's really crazy. It's like, I don't know why I thought he was gonna say more about. People said that, that they were gonna blame him. Yeah. And I think that was great marketing. You use the puppy thing, get us all to tap. That's what everybody's talking about. Exactly. And then everybody's looking going, wait, so David's gonna say more about, nah, I don't need that. It's about Jamie, it's not about that.
That was smart.
You know, that's smart. What's happening with Puffy? I know you're not really tapped in, but what? I saw like a guy there, he was like, yo, he like pushed me into the truck, it really hurt, and he started watching, I was like, yo, I can find other things to do for me. Why did I sure I didn't say that for me? How much is this guy trying to get? I don't know, like it's a simple situation, but it's like, it's 20 mil, I would say. You should have the black face out. He's like, his voice wasn't even that different. I had a little deep, but I was like, almost like, no, that's you, young buck. I was more what? I'm fucking trying to yo, you can't say that dudes are having sex with other dudes, bro. You know what I'm saying about you gotta say big sweet love. Why is your homeboy so close to you when they come out of that? Look like you guys just made sweet love. I'm gonna say sweet love instead of anything. To me, that's better, because they're gonna try to make it something else, you know what I mean? Yeah, that was smart. Like, I didn't think about that. You know, I said things that are borderline, like, I'm like, oh my God, you're in trouble. You? Because I just say, now that you guys are ultimately offered to take you shopping. Yeah, I mean, it's in the same shirt. It's in the same shirt. This is good. To a girl, you know, just found it that quick. What things happen in the middle? I don't know what's going on. I'm Kendrick and like it. You can't dress up Kendrick like that. I can't dress him up like that. It's just like the White Chicks movie, bro. You can't do that. That was comedy. You know, that's obviously doing shopping. They got the same outfit. That's a nice shirt. Alright, so when we said the shopping line, in real life, what did you say? I said, let me get a look. Because it was like, he was like, yo, when you hot now, we're gonna hang out now, you know. like hang out. Yeah. He said, I don't know, man, I take a shot for that. You just flash, you give me the like the hood shit. And I was looking and I was like, let me just move away from him because I'm gonna mess up the wedding. I always said to myself, like, it was someone's wedding, and it was Chris Lighting. It's like, oh, so my hands are up. Nobody cares. Nobody knows this. And I'm like, yo. You know what he just said, right? I was like, yo, certain things didn't let it go by because it's fun. Like, like he would say stuff, and it's like, it wasn't like in the closet, he was like in the hallway. Now you see so much shit, you go away. Yo, it's just people go in the hall. We saw it there. It comes out later, he's like, that's not the problem. He didn't get my father right now. Nah, you already know. Because when Fab, he was like, yo, Fab, we ain't party. Fab was like, yeah, we party around. No, like, but we did party. And I'm like, yeah, let that one go. Like, I had to say something about it later because I was like, oh, what do you feel like all these years you be the only one calling this out? I look like I've been the crazy guy for a long time. Yeah, and now everybody's complaining, my ass is hurting. It's all this shit that's coming. Talk about it. No. All I'm saying is, you can see it now. All of these people, like, people are jabbing or developing. What do I need from the? I went through years of a hater. You're a hater. You want this and that. I'm just watching. Like, I look at things and go, look, when you see that new lawsuit come with Jay, I go, oh shoot, like, yeah, I think about it. That had to be there. So when I was saying he was missing, and he just wasn't actively denouncing that they were dealing with that. Wait, do you think there's truth to the Jay thing? There's no way. That was like you say. I have this thing where I'm conflicted when it takes you 20 years to remember something that happened to you. Yeah. Okay. I don't know. I go also 10 years, 20 years later, it comes back. And it's like all of the problems are coming from the ministers touching little boys. The laws are the way they are because because the priest touching little boys. Oh. Well, look at me. I just go to church. I just go to church. I ain't gonna do it. Find an alibi. That's why the laws around me. You know, I'm trying to wait for No. What's the body of Christ taking? What's that religion? You can't do it. I'm gonna drink my blood. So it is crazy whenever they come out. That's his pal.
But Puffy, you were the only one saying anything for decades.
Yeah, because we had our own little thing.
But you were the only. Everybody else is scared.
Huh?
But everybody else is scared. So you think maybe this is a similar thing? Everybody else is scared. I don't know what it is.
I think they're scared.
But if they're scared,
But
that's
you've
because
been
I'm saying.
insinuating Jay-Z a little bit.
Yeah.
Like, you've been saying people are uncomfortable a little bit.
No, I didn't try to. He would do funny, funky stuff like the Super Bowl. Like, it was not okay for me to be at the Super Bowl.
Oh, he tried to cut that.
Yeah, he didn't want me to. Well, it worked to make like there was an issue with me in the NFL that doesn't exist.
Mm-hmm. And he did the corporate way of trying to keep you down. Oh, it's not me, it's that.
It's them. And then when them says he's not gonna do it if I'm not there, let's go. Thank you.
Now,
Yeah.
I don't know if you were an engineer issue.
It's just competitive stuff. It's really just. This is what I'm saying. When it gets past actual art, but actual music, and you try to block something this and business, then it feels weird. It feels like we should.
The new hip hop follows deep, sexy, and follows you all night long.
It's a Romali. Yes.
It should be having beef.
Oh.
Okay.
So that's the mindset. scenes thing that we don't see. It's one thing when there's like people talking about each other in music, but there's behind the scenes business deals that a guy is getting involved with on the side, and it's not like you can go public and be like, they tried to stop my record award, this deal, and he sent that to you like
I don't speak to your temperament, like say, attorneys were crazy, they'll say anything, you see what they say anything to cut.
So he's basically trying to scare people out of the Interesting. And shut it down, and he was like, yo,
he's not coming up with the and then I'll just thing, because he really is the biggest. They can say what they want, but when we go to the stats, that is the box and all that shit.
There's a, M obviously speaks to you with high praise, but there's a few videos that I see, and everybody talks about how funny you are, they talk about, obviously, the album's all success, but like, Eminem specifically talks about your rapping skill a lot. Is that, I'm like,
it does, but still, he never left that part of the creativity. Like, you go back, when you don't see him, he's back, he's in his regimen of the studio. And this is why, like, you kind of, they can't, you can be activist, but you can't really be him at that. You have to put all your energy there.
And you're just not gonna do it. Once these guys get famous, they leave the system.
And the thing that makes him feel good is Joe, you remember I did last? And it gives him that again. So if that's really what's driving you, it's really tough to be better there. And some of them may have a gift. They may be a God-given talent that they rap the way we speak, but they don't work as hard. It's like Kobe Bryant was outperforming people because he would work harder, conditioning himself to do it. And other than nobody's.
Who's the most talented rapper you've seen, period? Just talent, natural born.
Maybe crazy. Like when an artist can freestyle without thinking about anything and it just all falls in line. Sometimes they can end up rapping it's so easy for them, but they don't know exactly what to rap about. You see what I'm saying? That's good.
Because I remember those freestyle, but they would just give him a word and just have to
go.
But you're right, sometimes you miss like the connectivity with the music. Like, so their songs, there's comedy where it might not even be like the most perfect joke, but it makes you feel the thing. And that's better to you.
That it connects. And look, a lot of times, if there's no truth to it, it's not funny. It has to have some sort of connection that's grounded in truth, but it's almost a warped perspective being offered by the movie. The timing, the way it comes in. And I look at it, I'm like, that's good. It's crazy, like, you see things like the white party PDA, and then they have a little baby like in a sandwich. Right in the bag and stuff. And I'm like, man, that's more about my favorite artist. I don't do it first. I don't want to do it.
The ugly pictures of the white party, though, what is that?
I don't know, bro.
Every picture is a little bit.
Everyone's so happy to be there. I'm like, these regular parties, people don't just hug each other.
It's like when I was a traffic party.
Come on, let's have a group hug. I'm going to shake your hand and stuff, man.
It does feel that's crazy.
I'm telling you,
that's crazy.
It was a little too much.
That's just white boy shit. That's why it's the white boy. It's the whitest party. What is going on in the one to the right? That is insane.
That's just
he looks like he's unzipping his pants. Look at
This is bad. This is bad.
Will you call and be like, yo, listen, you're brilliant.
No, I wouldn't try to see them, but I go to them.
And you go,
I go to them. Man, what happened? I ask them because I'm a fan of the new artist. So I'm watching and I'm like, yo, you got the hit factor. Like, you got that thing a little bit. I like it.
guys, quick tour announcements. Hawaii, I'll see you guys in a couple weeks, man. Mark and I will see you guys out there. And Doug's coming out. The boys coming out. Bala's coming out. And, you never know who's going to come out in Hawaii as well. So we'll see you guys at that show, Blythedale Arena. Can't wait. That is the final show of the Life Tour until somebody says they'll give me an extreme amount of money to do it again. So this will be the final show, man. We got to go out with a bang in the amazing state of Hawaii.
Love you, appreciate you. See you guys. Peace.
Alright, Tucky Tuck boys, it's daytime. I'm taking the rest of this year off, but I'm back in January 9th through 11th. I'm going to be in Tampa. Indians are already scooping up those tickets quickly, so you better hurry up and buy. Also, January 23rd to 25th, I'm in Sacramento. I promise you those tickets will sell out. I am not bullshitting you. Those tickets will sell out, so hurry up and buy those. January 31st and February 1st, I'm going to be in West Des Moines, Iowa. I don't know if anybody's buying those tickets. I don't know where the fuck Des Moines is, to be honest with you. I barely know where Iowa is. Is it the Midwest? Is it Western? I don't know. I don't think it's near Pennsylvania. I know that. But I'm excited to go. My travel agent, Sandeep Shah, Travel King, will book the ticket for me. I got no fucking clue what direction that plane will be going in, but I'll be there. Also, February 21st through 22nd, we had to reschedule shows from earlier. They're now February 21st and 22nd. February 27th through March 1st, I'll be at Zany's in Nashville. Those shows will also sell out, guys. Buy tickets. Your boy's selling out. That's just what it is. AkashTen.com. Look how cute my eyes are on the website. Buy your tickets. Let's get the fuck out of here.
Do you think it's starting to happen where like the people you beef with, because this is what I always say, if 50 don't fuck with you, I don't fuck with you, I don't know why. That's what I always say, like, if you don't fuck with you, you got a reason, we're gonna figure it out soon. Like, do you think that's starting to come to fruition? Like, the public is starting to realize, oh, maybe he doesn't fuck with these people.
So it's the lifestyle stuff. The thing that they're doing is not, because that was also the hardest influence.
What you mean?
Like the parties and everything, it's the hardest influence to get people there. And then you're not saying.
So now we got you.
Yeah. That's you all out of pocket. Right? Yeah. Everybody didn't know this. Now you gotta be cool now. Don't focus. This blackmailing with like a movie kind of like you see like these person people. Yeah. Don't stop like a corn man. Yeah, that was weird.
That was weird.
Big not. Still was pressing them like, nah, why did you not answer your phone? Like, oh, no.
Like, I don't got a video of his finger.
Oh, he wasn't as for a reason. Like, I'm not saying that. It takes too many. But that's the, you see how they kind of like, I guess it's the same thing for everything, right? What else?
Oh, 100%. But you never wanted to be like in the end. I know. You're kind of cooking.
I know that. Out of the end before I got here. I was already had relationships with John and other people too. So there was already like what we would call the artist community was already connected to that. So I just came and was creating my own bubble.
Yeah, you were disrupting
things, and I wanted to just help other artists that I signed to the label I felt had something and build them up at different points. And then it was like a period that Jay retired.
Yeah.
He had retired and went to go work at Def Jam.
Yeah.
And then he did this fucking thing I ever experienced. Because well, we're from you're strong as a crew that you do. Alright, so you look out for your people. And then he didn't build the crew, but he took Def Jam's crew. So he went and then came back and Beyonce and Rihanna and
But you still got people around. You still got like Tata and people.
And that's real cool in my mind.
Alex will ride with Jay-Z no matter what.
Oh yeah, I know. I'm a huge Jay-Z fan, but I'm also a huge fan of New Yorker. So.
You might be able to do you run him off his
You saved my life. I'm trying to
Hold on, I always want to talk to you about that. When we were in Boston, we got to talk a little bit, but I want to know the beginning.
Yeah.
Because it's always impressed me about you is this understanding of the human condition. You understand people, you understand what they're afraid of, and not always like fear of their life, fear of shame, fear of public perception. Like, so, and first thing I asked you, I was like, I just need to understand. At what age are you starting to figure this out?
Oh, that was younger, I think 12, 13.
Yes, you said 12, 13, you were starting to even put together your own crew.
Yeah. Because the ones that didn't have requirements, like the neighborhood didn't have age limit. How much of it can you sell?
So who are you getting it from at that time? Who's your connect?
I would be watching the structure that was around early on. So it's like a lot of the guys that they see that they were part of the influence. Yeah. Early on, like the spring team that we do with those different areas, they would all be there, and you kind of see how things didn't just happen like.
Right. So you told me this interesting thing I thought was cool. You were leading your crew. You're young. Some of these guys are older than you.
Yeah.
How old are you? This is 13.
13, 14.
Well, and then you said you got locked up. You went to juvie.
Yeah. I was in a spot like the junior detention center.
And then you said when you came out, you weren't like the top of your role wasn't the top, but you still needed them to respect you.
Right, so I wasn't in. When you told me about this when I got back from shop,
Yeah.
I had done a boot camp, 6 months in a military boot camp. I did therapeutics, cognitive disability, did several things. I kind of changed the curves and changed the things again. There wasn't no difference high in Chris Jackson off, right? You don't forget those things, especially when you haven't been fucked up by drugs already. So this is something they would do every night at house meetings.
Okay.
Like you come in and they would all go through the cardinal rules and things, and they would read that off. It's just a really prayer.
Yeah.
And I would go through that, case all the different therapeutic things, projects, avoiding longer jail.
So if you go through all these things, then you don't end up
You don't spend as much time. So then from that you kind of become a little more observant of people. Like in those facilities, they like drop slips they start to tell me.
What do you mean?
Like you just came out of jail, and now you're in the shop program, in the military boot camp side, they're like, you skip steps. You did this, you did that, and you like receive punishments in exchange for those different things. And I wasn't adjusting well. I had time to sell drugs when I got home again. So like, who's telling on me? What you doing is like, they would do things that turn into opportunities because they go, okay, everybody drop, and then have you just there. So now they do over drop, and they're doing push-ups now, and you're just standing there chilling with your cigarette life. You know what I mean? Then everybody's kind of looking to you do something wrong and watch. And it starts to, I would do things like I volunteered to work in the kitchen.
Okay.
Put my platoon had the detail, and I would like sit next to like the beats, like the worst shit that people don't want. You can't talk when you come into this, so you come in and go, you know, parade glass, and then go to the position of attention, and then move on. So the mess hall was really quiet, and they come through, and you gotta use your hands, like this, or this. You know whether you want a little bit, medium, or a lot.
Like a dating party.
Yes. Coffee cake next to the beats. And I know you want the coffee cake, but when I didn't like it, I just give you beats.
This is interesting. You're managing leverage.
I'm just quiet. I know they want this the only switch that they give us.
Yeah.
So they don't want that, and I put the piece next to it for the kitchen, and I get that. You drop the slip on me, I'm not saying because if you don't eat it, they're gonna make you wear it.
Now you gotta eat these shitty beats with
Put the shit all over there. This gonna fuck up your whole coffee spirit, coffee cakes. Fucking nasty ass beats that they put in. Yes, fuck you. Since you would put me in slip and drop slip. And I'll find ways to do shit back to them without doing anything back to them.
Okay, so you're doing it back, but you're also getting them to do what you want. So you understand there's a leverage play.
That is in every situation.
So you leave the camp, you come back. How do you signal to your team? Like you told me this great story of how like you weren't making that much money, but you were giving it all to them, so they knew that you were still the top.
Yeah, because we would go in when we was back, they would get like $1,100. Okay, so it's like 4 people in there, and I'm in there, and everybody in here used to work for me, so I can't take this $1,100. So I was saying 20. Now I don't care about that. Let's just do this. So it kept them still viewing me as the boss.
Because if you're making the same money as them, they're gonna start to view you
We're
as
the same.
Yeah. So you're sacrificing. You're not making anything, so that they know that you're.
I would tell them just put $2,000 on the side, each one of the bags, or you bag it together, and then if we need it, we go to that. When we do it, this or that. Anything was left over, I just would take the whole left over. You know what I'm saying? But I wouldn't take the money that they knew.
Yeah.
So then when they try to get them to go back up without me, they'll be like, no, we're boo.
Yeah.
They don't know they get more if I'm there.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? And then they go, no, well, yeah, I'm coming with boo. I keep asking for boo.
Yeah. So is people's loyalty usually tied to self-preservation?
Absolutely.
So, like, even in the jail thing, it was just like, I want that sugar, I want that coffee cake, I gotta be nice to this guy or else I'm not gonna get that.
Yeah. Oh, it's just
Backing up, it's, hey, I wanna make more money, I make more money.
I gotta look for him then. Because when it's there, it's better. It's always better when he's there.
Yeah.
Like they look at it and they go, nah, like then it took even in that when I had accumulated the work, then they came back and it was like this dude and they was right out. And the neighborhood, he came and was like, well, I was like, yo, the DA was on the bar. I said, oh, my name's Curtis. That means he's not looking for me. Alright, so they ran out of town and they thought there was no work there for weeks. There was no work there for like a few hours. Like 12 hours.
And then you were able to get something else home.
Oh, just change the tops. Just change the couches, put it right back up. But a few hours later, they came back. By the time they came back, I was strapped. Same type of corner thing there. Like, we weren't that sophisticated.
So okay, so you're doing this thing, like, and again, I don't want to incriminate, so if I am doing that, you can stop me, but like, how do you escalate? How do you grow the business? How do you're an entrepreneur at this time, like, I'm sure you're looking at this, you're, okay, do I get more territory? Do I sell more people? Do I get it for a cheaper price? Like, what is going through your mind?
How do you scale being a
Yeah, like, how do you
just move faster. You move more faster.
Yeah.
So if you get bigger, the pieces got bigger. I was giving away more drugs for the money, but the clientele was drawing it off the other corners. So it was like they were pulling everybody to that corner because it was so much more. They were getting more for the money. And it's like,
So you do the better deal. And everybody's paying it.
Yeah. You're like Amazon, the crack.
yeah, that's the vibe. Like Amazon is a good model to look at because you see if they'll curate the sales, then after they get the sales, they see give me a deal with FedEx and to yes, and when they don't give me a deal they want, they're just okay, we deliver it ourselves. Because we got all of the transactions.
Loyalty is leverage.
Yeah.
Interesting. Okay. How I grew up in New York City.
If you look younger than your age, you might be one of us.
If you've never broken a single dog, you might be one of us. The 12 types of life lessons. Take that.
They say we get what we deserve. We want it. That's all for everyone, and you are the two.
I remember the disruption of Amazon. It was the first disruptive, in my opinion, it was like the first disruptive rap record. And I'm gonna connect it to something very weird, but do you remember the Blair Witch Project that movie came out? When we didn't know if it was a real or not, right? And you had to go to the movie theater because you're like, this is so fucking different. I've never.
That's crazy. Yeah, and it was like, it wasn't this is
Nah, and that was part of the charm. I feel like, that's where I felt how Rob was. The energy was like, what the fuck is going on?
in the culture it was almost taboo for you to say someone's name.
Yeah. And you said, everybody gets a joke though. That's
Okay, you came to High Rob, that was after you got dropped, right?
Yeah. How about this? That happened.
So you get shot first, then dropped, then how
No, how I came before I got shot.
Yeah.
What happened is when I robbed, I was approaching the release date, and they were like, called me with dead serious film. Just throw it out. Yeah. You know, and that was desperation. It was.
Desperation for what?
It was, if I didn't do something that commanded attention, it would come out without any attention surrounding it.
And you didn't want that to flop
I'm subjected to the same thing. Like, if that worst scenario came from using people's names, it would be exactly what I'm subjected to in this outside community. You see what I'm saying?
There's no greater risk. I can already get shot.
So if I say somebody big,
Yeah.
oh wow.
So if it doesn't work, then I go home to that, and that's that. That's what's gonna be there. Yeah.
That's a great risk calculation. It's like I'm already afraid of that. I'm already dealing with that.
Yeah, subjected to it regardlessly. And then you go like, okay, so if this doesn't work, then so I gotta take the shot that makes everybody see or notice that I'm in.
When do you know that it was fun?
Nas. Nas came, he's like, yo, that was kind of crazy, yo. That kind of felt like when I came, like,
Dang.
man, like, you know, like that how it culturally, and then he was like, I didn't get to talk.
So Nas stepped up. And what do you think, that was like a Queens thing, or did you guys have connection before that?
Part of Queen's thing because it was, yeah, that was a part of it. But he didn't have to do that.
And also, he's getting enemies by co-signing you. That's a great thing.
There was still enemies wasn't there yet. It was just he was looking at it like it was disruptive. It was an ill move, like a false move. And
You did diss Nas a few years later.
I understand that. He's a player of misunderstanding. It's funny because it ties into shit into now, right? Like you go. It was just yesterday. I was just seeing that they said the third person that was there to witness this thing in the lawsuit. You know, it was just in Florida. They said no, it's in Florida, but the female that they said was there. They said when you say this,
Allegedly, Amanda.
when you say that,
Man is working overtime.
The Jewish anxiety corner in this one. Percolating right now.
Like Nas was kind of like he took us on the road, so he kind of knew I took it. If you ask him, he'll tell you that he said after they was just going to jail, like because he was actively in it. Like he was the smarter part of the experience.
Right.
You know, like the rest of the crew was like I was at home with them. There was Queensbridge, Jungle Ways, Lord, everybody that was there was like horses, all comfortable for me to be around. So when we was out, there was always that energy that was like, we was in different neighborhoods, but the energy that's in our neighborhood was there. The version of it. So, and I was comfortable with being in altercations or like hopping, so I was like, look, because the fight just, you know what, boxing does that to you. It takes the emotion out of the fight. Because you fight so often, you start, it just be like, it's like sparring. Like, most of the time you get into it with a fighter, like it just, you know, because he punched you already. You know what I'm saying? Like, you don't see him rocking back and forth. There's no nah, in the street, it's easy, he just punch you and start the fight.
All the guys who's like trying to take the shit off.
You know, they don't want to hit.
Although you want to go to
They don't find a way out of this shit. This shit is sweet.
I didn't even make it to that part. I thought.
He got his eyes on the court.
I'm not getting in a fucking fight.
Are you kidding me? He says, are you kidding me? There's a Filipino fight there.
You know how people feel tough just because they're around you? I'm not even one of them.
And lifestyle, you know, the funniest who kid would do that, right? The who kid would come, he go, Joe, we see punching him, I ran out the back, I did this, I said, you ran? Are you pussy? Yes. What the fuck are you doing? That was the first time I ever had a conversation with someone and they said yes. And I was like, yo, nah, it's cool because you're the president. I said, we're not going to react to nothing that comes from him. Because we know that he has this temperament. That's fine. It's actually better than he told me than to pretend to be something you're not.
And then you got expectation for him to rumble, and then he's not getting after it.
I'm like, listen, you I'm thinking, that's right. Expect me to do what something you think is supposed to do, and eventually there's all okay.
I'm not saying.
And you know, yes. A regular person, you do something wrong, 911. 9 fucking 1-1. Come get this motherfucker.
Yes.
Don't act like you didn't hit me, you hit me. It's hard when you see people that portray lifestyle a certain way to do it.
I agree.
Yeah.
People trying to get tough with me, and I told them I'm calling Uncle Donald to look at their taxes. I want to find out. If anybody gets tough with me, I told Uncle Donald that I called him, you better make sure you're not writing off everything. We're looking at the write-off.
This is not right. I had done a record with Jennifer because she's really why I recorded the plot. She told me because she was on the set.
That thing starts to hurt.
Yes. Well, no. At that point, it was good. She was like, cause she was on the stage recording when we worked. Tommy told her.
Shout out Tommy, man.
Yeah, that whole Columbia regime over there, we was working together, and then Jennifer was telling me she should work with me. She's like really talented, and I started to write little things for parts and stuff like that. And then after a while, and then after I worked, we did a couple of things together. She called and they had a record. It was Jennifer's record, so I wrote to the record. And Irvin found out that I had done the record. This is how, look, they've done things to block me. I haven't blocked. I haven't told the DJ don't play a record or don't.
Herb is Herb guy.
Herb guy, you can tell now they've admitted it over the time period.
And that J-Lo record would have been a big look for you because you wasn't.
What they did was use me against me. They went and told Tom and them like, why are you doing business with this guy? Like, this guy's like what he says on his records. Like, what happens when he flips on show?
So they scared.
Scared him off. The record show ended up like put Nas. This is why even Jay was angry at Irv because he was saying put Nas